After 30 years of being trapped by pain, I finally broke through using the latest science based strategies, and I'm here now to present to you the same strategies that helped me feel better, and at no cost, and there's no catch. Greetings, it's nice to see you again. Recently, I've been receiving comments about neuroplasticity and people questioning whether, if they've had pain for a long period of time, wondering if they could improve by using neuroplasticity exercises. And my response to that is science says that we can retrain our brain and develop new neural pathways throughout our life. So that means when I was 63, after having pain for 30 years, I recovered and I no longer have pain. And I did it by using neuroplasticity sensory exercises. This is Editor Bonnie. I'm here to tell you that in the background of today's video, I've placed a neuroplasticity auditory exercise. And I'll meet you in the end to see if you discovered what it was. And, it's really helpful, the sensory exercises, not only when you originally get injured or you have a condition that starts up terrible pain in your body, and that's called nociceptive pain. That's the acute pain. Neuroplasticity exercises can help you even in that phase because it helps you not catastrophize about the pain. It also helps start educating the brain to turn down the pain signals, to start going down different neural pathways. And then if you transition, unfortunately, into the next phases of chronic pain, and you could have two different type of pains, or it can overlap. And those pains are called neuroplastic pain or nociplastic pain. And the fact is that neuroplasticity exercises help in those two conditions and also can help in the first, when the pain first comes and it's called acute. The best case scenario, of course, if the acute phase never goes into chronic phase. But I want to review what neuroplasticity is. Again, it's if you picture your brain as a forest and you have established routes, you go down these pathways. You always go by there's one big redwood that's 500 years old, and you have huge rocks and boulders you're used to seeing in the forest. And you always go down that pathway. It's really well worn. And then one day a lightning storm comes and knocks down one of the trees, and you can't go down that pathway anymore. So then you have to find another route to get to your destination. And there's not a pathway. You have to forge that pathway, and you build in that pathway. And since the loggers aren't going to get to that tree, many more people are going to follow your pathway. So it becomes a bigger pathway. And the other major pathway that everybody was used to using for years and years is not used anymore. It gets overgrown. And so, in essence, when you're developing new neural pathways, you're establishing new roads, new pathways in your brain. And how do you do that? You do it through exercise. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of exercise where you go to the gym and you do reps, or even getting on the treadmill. I mean, exercise is great, but that's not what I'm talking about, how to exercise your brain. I'm talking about neuroplasticity exercises, and that's from sensory stimulation. You feed your brain all sorts of stimulations based on your five senses. Now, let's review the five senses. And the first one is the eyes, and then the ears, the nose, taste, and then touch. So you have things that you look at, things that you hear, things that you smell, some things that you taste. Another term for that is gustatory, eat things with gusto. And touching, the tactile. Did you know that your skin is the largest organ in your body? So it's very alive, feeding your brain with all sorts of information. It lets you know if things are too hot for you, too cold, if they're rough. It gives you all sorts of information. So because all our different senses feed our brain information, we get to modulate the kind of information that comes our way. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm all about no cost or low cost activities to help yourself feel better. And so one of the first things I want to talk about is how you start your day doing neuroplasticity exercises. When you get up in the morning, the first thing that you should do to start doing your exercise is to use your ears, your auditory. And that could be putting on your favorite music, or it can be turning on, they have little machines that sell for less than $20 on Amazon of different sounds of nature. And you start paying attention to the tones, and you become mindful in that. That's a mindful activity, and you're listening. So you're paying attention to that as opposed to taking an inventory of the pain throughout your body, which, I know as somebody who lived with chronic pain, I would usually start my day checking out what region was bothering me the most. Was it my left leg? Was it the burning in my neck? Was it the spasm in my dominant hand? What was ailing me that morning? So instead of going down the same route in my brain of always saying, check out these pain areas, instead of that, I reached for my Bluetooth and put on my favorite songs. I did that. Or maybe it was the time, the season where a lot of birds were out, or there would be all, we live where there's a pattern of seagulls fly a lot. And I also have a lot of crows in my area. So I would listen to, a pack of crows is called a murder of crows. I would listen to the calls and I would know something was happening. So it took me out of myself, but I was forging new neural pathways in my brain. And so, once I got out of bed and got going for the morning, I would do things like tasting new toothpaste. I would order a different brand rather than peppermints. There's some brands that are cinnamon, and again, a few dollars, tasting. And that would be, I was using my gustatory, my sense of taste. The other thing is using scented candles, or maybe you may have a diffuser. They're very inexpensive, where you could have a scent. I know one gentleman who used to love hiking, and he was hit by rheumatoid arthritis, and when he'd have a flare up, he couldn't go out hiking. So he used to love to smell the scent of the forest scent. I forgot, it was pine. That was made him feel good, so that was what he chose to do. Other people use candles, scented candles. So you're using your senses again. You're using smell, the sense of smell. And then when you sit down for breakfast, instead of just gobbling down, a fast muffin, and gulping down your coffee or tea, you take time to savor what it is, and maybe change it up. Maybe if you always have something sweet for breakfast, do something savory, something that's challenging you. It's waking up your senses, so it's not the same old. It's like waking up. You're not the same old person who's taking an inventory of pain and saying, "Oh, my numbers are this high on the pain scale." No, you're not talking about that way, because you don't want to go down that pathway. You don't want to go down the pain pathway, because down the pain pathway is not only do you feel the pain, but you have behaviors that you use when you're in pain. So you're not thinking about the world at large. You're just thinking about, perhaps you're thinking about, how can I get better? What do I need to do? And I can't believe how miserable I am. We're all an experiment of one. Maybe your thought patterns are different than that, but oftentimes, many people over the decades I've interacted with, people with chronic pain, often have the same script that they run in their head, and it's understandable. Nobody wants to be in pain. We all want to get out of it. And so neuroplasticity exercises is an avenue that can improve your life. And so you have your breakfast, and you're challenging your senses, your taste, even smelling the aroma of something baking in the oven. Maybe you're heating up one of your morning rolls or something. But take the moment to think about it, and maybe even listen to some music at that time, or again, check and see what's happening out in nature. If you have a pet, take a little extra time of interacting with your pet in a different way. If you have a cat and it allows you to pet it, maybe when you're petting it, think about the textures, because how the soft the fur, or if the cat licks you, it feels like sandpaper, and reflect on that, because that's sensory information. You want to feed your mind every bit of sensory information you could give it, beyond what the pain is always trying to yell at you about. So you have your morning activities, and then lunchtime, same thing with your lunch. Mix up what your lunch is, do something a little bit different. If you don't go spicy, but you can tolerate it, maybe put a little spice in something, just to challenge your taste, so you're not doing the same old. You're living a new life, a new experience, because all of that is like doing all the reps in the gym. And just think, you don't have to put on leg warmers to go to the gym. And maybe you're young and you don't know what leg warmers are, but they were the rage, I think, in the 1990s. That, I'm in my 70s, so my social references go way back, I guess. So, I tried to instill that I have some joy in life, and even if you have not gotten out of your pain and you're still working on improvement, humor is really good. It's good to have a good sense of humor. And that helps sustain me until I learned about neuroplasticity and can start working the program of doing it. And it is a 24/7, and you need to care about yourself enough. When people engage with me and I work with them and they're wondering, well, I don't have enough time to do this. And I always ask, well, do you have enough time to sit there and have misery in your brain that you're thinking how bad it is that you're in pain? So instead of taking those moments that you're being miserable, because it is miserable, take those moments to do something joyful of, I'm going to have a new scent. I'll try some other, oils on my wrist, or maybe I'll get a different type of toothpaste, and instead of this fruit that I always have for lunch, maybe I'll go a different way and have a different fruit that totally outside of my usual apple, banana, and orange, and so it's really important to stimulate yourself in other ways. And that's what neuroplasticity is. It's feeding yourself through all your five senses. And when it comes to your evening and you're sitting with your family, if you have a family, friends, or interacting with people, even those moments can be done in a different way in how you're talking and listening to what they're saying, because you're using auditory. And perhaps when you're talking to somebody, listen to the tone of the voice for the first time. And I don't mean tone of the voice like, oh, I'm mad at you, or they're laughing. It's just, how's the sound? Is the sound, does it sound, oh, they sound this way, or their voice, like my voice is very raspy. You would listen to Bonnie say, you'd sit there and you'd be eating, you'd hear me talking, and you'd maybe hear the content of what I'm saying, but then maybe you'd say, oh, interesting, that's very raspy, or today she's not quite as raspy, because already, it's sensory, you're listening, you're the auditory, you're hearing something different. Or maybe you're sitting there and you think you hear a distant siren going on. You become alive. You have to ignite your senses. And that's what, neuroplasticity exercises are. And so, again, I'm often asked about neuroplasticity exercises because I started my journey of using neuroplasticity to rewire my brain to create those new neural pathways by sticking mints in my mouth. Something as simple, a few dollars worth of mints, sugar-free. I didn't want to have any, cavities. And that opened my world, was just simple mints. And so it doesn't have to be thousands and thousands of dollars of a treatment. Now, neuroplasticity exercises can be done in conjunction with whatever treatment you're getting from your healthcare providers. If you're still engaged with your healthcare providers, whether it's a functional doctor, a pain medicine doctor, a rheumatologist, an orthopedist, neuroplasticity exercises are, state of the art. They're science-based. And in my life, they work, and I've seen them work in other people's lives. And today's modern world of 2024, there are apps that are available. There, you can play games on your phone that you're using your brain, and it is neuroplasticity. There's another app that I'm affiliated with, is Train Pain, and that when you put on pods and get certain targeted stimulation, that's another form of neuroplasticity. So there's many different ways that we can use modern things or just homemade neuroplasticity exercises, and that'll make a difference in our lives. So that's, please leave comments if you have any further questions about neuroplasticity. And I want you to remember, at any age of your life, you can turn that pain down. Neuroplasticity works. It started working in my life when I was in my late 50s, and now I'm 72. I'm sitting again in front of you pain-free. So that's all for today. Bye for now. The audio neuroplasticity exercise were little tingling bells in the background. Did you hear them? I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you found it useful, please give it a thumbs up. And also, please subscribe so you'll be given notice when the next video is uploaded. And also, to go an extra step, how about leaving me a comment so I know I'm not out here all alone trying to help people?